Welcome to TransTerminology. This video is going to be about the terminology that we use in the gender community. You can find a full list of my trans terminology on sequoiablessed.info. And if you go to the gender sites, then you can find a whole list of the trans terminology. Let's start off with androgynous. Androgynous is the absence of gender or a mixture of both traits to result in a neutral appearance. This is an appearance or presentation chosen by the individual. So androgynous is a term that we hear often, and usually these people who are androgynous are often either bisexual or asexual. But that's not a rule, that's just a generalization. The next one is cross-dresser, and cross-dressers are someone who wear the clothes of the opposite gender. They do so behind closed doors, often on a temporary basis. No, I would say all the time on a temporary basis. They're not changing gender roles, they're just temporarily assuming the opposite gender role. So the term that would kind of go along with that is an old term would be transvestite, and transvestite is the old term that used for a full-time cross-dresser. Genderqueer is a term that's kind of new, but a person who bends the socially accepted rules of gender presentation, often used as a catch-all term for anyone not fitting into gender roles and feels like they do not fit other terms. So if a person doesn't want to be called gay or transgender or something, then they often identify as genderqueer. And genderqueer is most popular with the younger generations. I also wanted to go into gender dysphoria, which is the condition where a person's gender identity is incongruent with their anatomical sex. And gender identity disorder, on the other hand, is the American Psychiatric Association's terminology for gender dysphoria. So there's no known cure for GID except to transition the patient to the opposite gender. So gender identity disorder, or GID, is the American Psychiatric Association's term for gender dysphoria. Let me see, let's get into something else. Some of these terms, you can look through the listings to know more, but let's go ahead and skip to pansexual, which is a term that I kind of explained on the last video, but it's a person who is actually attracted to people of all genders, not to be confused with bisexual, who is attracted to multiple genders. Pansexually denotes the potential of sexual attraction to all genders and being is intended to negate the idea of two genders. So pansexual, basically you're attracted to the other person's personality, irregardless of their looks or their gender, and it implies that there is more than just two genders. Some other things here. Oh, the standards of care is something I wanted to talk about too, and that is the medical protocol defining the controlled process consisting of psychological therapy, hormone therapy, real-life tests, transitioning to the desired gender, and sexual reassignment surgery. So the medical protocol is something that Dr. Harry Benjamin assigned back in 1979, and this has been the guideline that psychologists and psychiatrists have been using to guide our transitions from male to female or female to male. So let's see. The only other thing I wanted to kind of get into is the difference between transgender and transsexual. A person appearing or attempting to be the member of the opposite sex, such as a transsexual or habitual cross-dresser, is a term definition for transgender. This term is often used to include the entire community of individuals who cross gender boundaries on a consistent basis. Whereas a transsexual is a person having a strong desire to assume the physical characteristics and gender role of the opposite sex and who has undergone hormone treatment and surgery to attain the physical characteristics of the opposite sex. It's an important kind of definition, and not everybody agrees with this definition, and you're certainly allowed to have your own opinion. But this is from what this is my opinion, I guess. So a transsexual is someone who's either planning to have surgery or has already had surgery, and as they're transitioning from one gender to the next. And what I mean by that transitioning means that they're changing their physical body to match their gender identity. So transgender is basically an umbrella term, and a lot of people don't agree with that one either. A lot of transsexuals don't like being called transgender. That's, I think, sort of a personal choice, and I think it's a phase we go through as we transition. We go from accepting what society gives us, and then not accepting what society gives us, and discovering our own inner feelings, and discovering that, well, hey, you know, our bodies don't match, so we transition. So transgender meaning you're transitioning from one gender to the other. It's really pretty easy, isn't it? There's one other term I will throw in here, and this is called Two-Spirit, and this is a term adopted in 1990 by the 3rd Annual Intertribe Native American First Nations Gay and Lesbian Conference, and refers to Native Americans who are believed to have both male and female souls in one body. Often Native American transgenders will use the Two-Spirit term instead of transgender. So this wraps up my discussion on terminology. I encourage you to go to sequoiablessed.info if you haven't already, and check out the terminology under the gender section. You have a blessed day. Thank you for coming.